Hey, what's up, y'all? Just wanted to put together a quick video over order of operations. This is the order of operations that helps us make sure that whether I do a problem or somebody in another country does a problem or one of you does a problem, if you're following this order of operations, we should all get the same answer. So whenever you think of order of operations, most people think of PIMDOS. I personally like the acronym GMDOS. Now, G for me stands for grouping symbols. And there's all sorts of grouping symbols other than parentheses. Grouping symbols like parentheses or brackets, but there might be some things inside of a square root symbol or absolute value bars, or maybe the top or bottom of a fraction bar, where you might need to do that math above or below that fraction bar inside those other types of grouping symbols before evaluating the next thing, and the next thing would be exponents. That would be followed by multiplication and division. You'll notice I wrote those together because multiplication and division, as well as addition and subtraction, have to be done together, and we do those from left to right. So we do those in the same step, left to right. And maybe we'll see that in a couple of these problems here. So that's your general kind of order of operations. Let's go through a couple problems using those. So first off, here's one. I've got 2 squared minus 4 times 2 over 2, and then I've got a plus 5 there at the end. So going through that order of operations, let's write that out so we can remember it. Grouping symbols. I have this fraction bar in the middle, so I need to evaluate both sides of that fraction bar first. So it's almost like there's an order of operations problem inside of an order of operations problem, and I'm going to focus on this top part here. So let's just go one step at a time. 2 squared, that's an exponent. Let's evaluate that. So if I'm doing this one step at a time, I still am only going to do the top part of that fraction bar first, and I'm going to do exponents, and then I'm going to do multiplication. So I've got that 4 times 2, so that turns into 4 minus 8 over 2 plus 5, and I'm still trying to evaluate everything in that. So I'm not going to do division. I'm not going to do like 4 minus 8 over 2. I need to finish what's in the top of that fraction bar, so we're going to do the 4 minus 8, which is negative 4 over 2. And now I can simplify that fraction or evaluate that division. Negative 4 over 2, that's the same thing as negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. That grouping symbol's taken care of. Now that division's taken care of, and I can finally just do negative 2 plus 5, which is 3. So you're going to see problems like this. You're also going to see another type of problem where we're going to sub in values, and then we are going to simplify those expressions after we substitute in these values. So you'll notice that we have variables, but then we have values for these variables, right? M is equal to 2, N is equal to negative 5, P is equal to negative 2. We're going to rewrite this expression with those values plugged in. So my M is going to become a 2. And the first time I plug these numbers in, I like to put parentheses around them. Especially with the negative numbers, it really helps reduce the possibility of mistakes here. So like this P squared, it's really important to write that negative 2 inside parentheses and then square it. And we got minus M, so that's minus 2. Okay, now we can rewrite this a little bit to clean it up, right? So 2 times negative 5, I can also write like this. I'm still going to leave that negative 2 inside parentheses because that entire negative 2 is going to get affected by that exponent. And then finally minus 2. Whether that minus 2 is in a parenthesis or not doesn't matter. So we can take away those parentheses. But I've left some that are very important. And now if we go through our order of operations, we don't have any grouping symbols here. So what's interesting is that you see some parentheses, don't you? Here's some parentheses, here's some parentheses. Those parentheses in this situation are not actually grouping symbols. Those parentheses are just sort of indicating that there's multiplication involved, or like negative 2 is, that entire negative 2 is being raised to the exponent. It's not like there's some math that we're going to do inside those. So we're going to skip ahead to exponents. We do have an exponent here. We have negative 2 squared. So it's important here to know that this is negative 2 times negative 2. That's what squaring something does. You take that number and multiply by itself. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so this becomes a positive 4. Bring everything else down. Exponents are done. Now we're going to look for multiplication and division. I do have some multiplication here. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And now we just have addition and subtraction. This is one of those situations where we need to go from left to right. We're going to evaluate this from left to right. So I'm going to do negative 10 plus 4 first, which gives me negative 6. And then negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. And that there is our final answer. Hope this video was helpful. See y'all in class.